Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Superman and Lois Season 2, and this is going to be my trailer breakdown for Episode 7 for this season, otherwise entitled Anti-Hero or Anti-Hero, whichever way you want to put it. But before we get into anything else, let's actually watch this goddamn trailer.
Look what the wind blew in.
They're charging him with treason.
Do not lie to me, Jonathan. Not today.
I'm on your side.
It's a trap! Fall back! Fall back! Fall back!
So last episode is a lot of people saying one of their favorite episodes of the season. It's up there. It had a lot of stuff, had like literally no filler. Everything was really relevant to the stories going on this season. So I'd say it's up there. I don't think it was my favorite, but it was a lot of people's favorite. But pretty much we had every storyline, that's been going on get some focus. The Lana and Kyle, Jonathan, Lucy and Lois, Bizarro, everything like that. It had some focus. The only one that really didn't was probably Natalie and John Henry, who we'll talk about later in this video, but that's just because they're in the hospital. He's still comatose, so there's not much you can really go on in regards to that and move forward. Of course, as that episode ended, we saw Superman lured into the DOD, and Lieutenant Anderson has sort of been sick of the fact that Superman's not giving him any information. We know why Superman's not doing that, because people died last time that happened, but Anderson's getting frustrated and actually sort of sets it up that Superman is arrested for treason, and he's going to be taken to be put alongside his brother or half brother from last season. That'll be interesting. But of course, before we get into the actual breakdown of the trailer, we'll quickly go over the synopsis or description for this episode, as it does give us a bit more context as to what's going on. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know your general thoughts and opinions in the comment section. What you're looking forward to most in this episode, you're looking forward to this episode as a whole, and do you have any theories and predictions moving forward, let me know in the comment section. Always curious to read what you guys, have to say. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, looking forward to this episode and just want to show your support, why not drop a like on the video to do all that? Superman pleads with Lieutenant Anderson to investigate Ali Alston, and Lois receives some very upsetting news. Meanwhile, Lois helps Lana prepare to fight the good fight. Lastly, Jordan is still irritated with Jonathan for lying to him. So the first thing I do have to mention is that we are going on a break after this episode. So this episode will air on the 8th of March, which is, within the next week. But on the 15th of March, there's no episode. There is an episode, but it's not a new episode. I think they were playing like episode 3 or 4 or something like that. They were playing an older episode, and I'm not too sure if that's the only week off. I'm not too sure if there's a new episode on the 22nd, the week after that. I don't know. I really don't know. They've sort of like not given that update. So next week might be the last episode for a week or two, maybe 3, and they could use that as like a mini mid-season break of sorts, which makes me wonder if anything big happens at the end of this episode, which sort of serves as like a mid-season finale type thing. But I think we might just have 1 week break, just because there's still a good amount of episodes to go through, and I think they'd probably want to end this show before June, or at least early June. So I don't think we'd actually be going on that big of a break. Probably just a 1 week break on that 15th of March. But let's get into the actual trailer, because there's not a lot in the trailer, but there's still a lot to talk about, if that makes sense going forward. So the trailer wakes up with Superman waking up in this red sun-soaked cell. And obviously, this red sun, or this artificial red sun, if you want to call it, to depower Superman. It was in last episode as well. It was using that hall, and that's how they're able to, subdue Superman and everything like that. However, in this situation, he's actually waking up next to his half-brother, actually in the exact same cell, which is pretty interesting, but they're waking up next to his, Superman's waking up to his next to his half-brother Tal-Rho, aka Morgan Edge, who we already saw this season. We already saw this cell that he's in. It's like very Hannibal Lecter-esque. It's nothing new. But now Superman is going to be in there as well. So, I don't know. Maybe there might be some interesting altercations or conversations because of them actually being in the exact same cell in the exact same situation. Now, as I said before, Superman is being charged with treason. Now, I have a question. Is this what happened with Bizarro? Now, there were some newspaper articles that were like in his house that we saw in the flashbacks to begin last episode. Wasn't too sure if we saw anything, because they also flipped as well. The backwards, like the letters were backwards. So it's not like you could quickly read it. You probably have to go through, get a screenshot, flip the screenshot to make sure you can actually read what we're saying there. But maybe this is what happened to Bizarro on his Earth, and he became like an anti-hero, that the title of the episode saying, or maybe like a bit of an outlaw. Like he still wasn't bad, but he just wasn't seen as like a positive thing on his Earth, because Bizarro said towards the beginning of the episode the beginning of episode 6, last episode, that he wasn't as revered or respected on his Earth as Superman is here. But was he once, respected and revered as much as Superman? Was he the Superman of his Earth properly before something happened like this treason thing? Because as we saw in those flashbacks, he had the exact same experience with the DoD being, lured in, depowered, and taken on. We didn't see him in a cell or anything. We don't know if his Earth has a Tal Rho. I would assume it does, because it's just pretty much meant to be the opposite. Maybe he was the Tal Rho of his Earth. We don't know. That's something that still has to be explained, and I'm very curious to see if what we're seeing this season is somewhat similar to last season, where Bizarro is the warning for what could happen to Superman. I would hope it isn't just repeating that, because that is pretty much what season 1 was. That's why John Henry was here, to sort of like prevent what happened to the Kal-El on his Earth via what Tal Rho was doing on this Earth. So on our Earth. So hopefully they don't go down that, just because it just feels the same. But I don't think they will. Maybe they're trying to lure us into like a false sense of security with all that, make us think that they're going to go down like a copycat route, and then they'll just change it. And I think that's what's going to happen. But I'm just curious to see what Bizarro's story was that led him to become what he was, and why he looks different as well, because everyone on his Earth looked normal. I said that in my review, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions around his character. Now, as we can see in the trailer, Tal Rho is planning a trap pretty much via Superman to get out. Like, at one point he's holding a gun, which looks like to be like a kryptonite focused one. Like, I think, like I said last episode, in my review for last episode, that like it's like a kryptonite tranquilizer gun thing that they seem to have, where it's like a bullet that doesn't fully lodge itself in Superman, so it doesn't kill him, it just sort of depowers him and knocks him out. It looks like what this gun is. Well, so I don't know if it would really do much to someone, like a random person, unless it actually did fire bullets or something like that. But I guess the big thing is, like, I'm really curious to see, is there actually an escape, or do they just find that Superman did nothing wrong and they release him? Like, I don't know what's going to happen there specifically. And if that's the case, what happens with Anderson? The only thing I can think of where like nothing bad happens to Anderson, nothing bad happens to Superman, is whether Superman agrees to tell Anderson stuff going forward. So they make a full-on deal, and if there's any sign of Superman, withholding information or anything like that, he can end back up in this cell. And I think Superman is still going to withhold information, but he's going to give some information to Anderson, but maybe incorrect information that maybe leads Anderson into some trouble, and the potential Superman of America as well. It'll be interesting to see what Superman does there, because we've seen what happens, as I said earlier, when he gives that information out, those 2 Supermen of America died. But if he gives, false information, there's a potential that you could get someone in danger as well, because you can put them in a situation that you don't know what's going on. Like, you could say, oh, they're in, I don't know, Texas or something, and then they go there and there could be someone else there, or some bad situation where someone gets hurt, or whatever it might be. You don't know what's going to happen. So it might put Superman in a bit of a pickle, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Now, we do get to see Lois confronting Jonathan quickly in the trailer, most likely about the ex-kryptonite stuff by the looks of it. Now, we'll say this at the end of my review for last episode, the Jonathan stuff is very interesting, because we know that guy got sick, that Timmy dude, or whatever his name is, the other guy that was taking it. So what happens to Jonathan? Is it more like withdrawals and stuff like that maybe he starts to have, where he starts freaking out because he's pretty much addicted to like the power rush of this ex-kryptonite? Or is it actually more like it's actually like a substance thing where it actually legitimately is making him sick? I wonder what's going to go on here. And also, like, I do have to mention, like, on that Bizarro Earth, once again, we had Jonathan and Lois dead. Like, they had X's on their face. Clark and Jordan didn't, but Lois and Jonathan did. So what happened to them? Did Jonathan die in a similar way, go through the similar things that he did we're starting to see on our Earth, on that Earth, and he ended up dead? If so, what happened to Lois? Like, I'm assuming we will learn what happened to them somewhat soon, but then also makes you wonder, okay, well, Bizarro or that Clark is still alive, so where's the Jordan on that Earth as well? Like, as I said, a lot of unanswered questions going on with Bizarro and more get asked thanks to that beginning scene from last episode. And speaking of Bizarro, why does he look like that? Like what? And also, why did he end up taking the kryptonite inhaler? There's like so many questions. And speaking of questions that a lot of people have had, John Henry and Natalie, when they come back into the picture, obviously I think it was not episode 6 but episode 5. They did mention, I think, was it like Lois was going to take some food or something to their to the hospital room or something like that. I think in the synopsis for this episode they're credited, but I don't know if they're credited just because they're regulars for this season or because if they're actually in this episode. I think eventually they're going to have to start putting them in some episodes, at least Natalie to have some conversations. And also just because you'd expect Clark and or Lois and also the boys to go visit John Henry and Natalie in hospital. Maybe they might be in this episode, even if it's just like a scene towards the end or something like that. But I am curious to see where they go going forward. Are they going to help in this situation? Like, do we learn maybe that there's a version of them on the Bizarro Earth as well, or something like that. I think they'll probably be back this episode, but at the same time, I'm not too sure. Now, for once, I'm recording this video after they've released promo images, so we can quickly go over them. They sort of do reveal how this episode will play out, I think. So we start off with these promo images with, Superman in the red cell, and he's conversing with Lieutenant Anderson. This could maybe be the starting of the deal that I was talking about. Even though I don't know if it would play it exactly like that. As I said, I think they might make an agreement where Anderson doesn't get in trouble for lying about the treason, really, or pushing it forward. And Superman agrees to give some information, but maybe not all of it. It'll be interesting, but you can see them in the red room. And you can see that he's in the same cell that Morgan Edge was in, like the Hannibal Lecter thing. And then the final one, you can actually see Talro or Morgan Edge behind him as well. And you got to think, Superman's not just in here alone. Obviously, he's got Talro, and Talro will be like the devil on the shoulder, giving him the bad advice. And Superman will try to be giving himself some good advice. And Talro is like, no, you have to do this. You have to do the evil thing or something like that. But the next promo images are interesting, and that's when we actually have Clark at Smallville. Now, I'd assume this is our Clark, just because of how stuff plays out. But you can see he's with Lois. I'm assuming this is towards the end of the episode. But then again, this red cell stuff in the prison with Morgan Edge and Talro might only be for the first 15-20 minutes of the episode. I've noticed with some Superman and Lois episodes, some of the stuff you think might go the whole episode is done 20-25 minutes into the episode. I think it happened a couple of episodes ago. You thought there was going to be, or something that was going to be at the end was actually at the beginning or played halfway through. And then there was another half of an episode not related to that. So they might be fooling us a bit here. But yeah, you can see Clark and Lois here back at Smallville. But then you can see Clark in Jonathan's room here. And he Jonathan and Jordan's room. Do they share a room? I thought they had separate rooms. They did, didn't they? Yeah, they do. I'm confused. I think this is Jordan's room that they're in. Yeah, this is Jordan's room. Maybe they make Jonathan and Jordan share a room. Actually, it's because Lucy's here, isn't it? Maybe because Lucy's staying over. That Jonathan... Anyway, I'm somewhat confused about that because I'm pretty sure they had separate rooms, but now it seems like they're in the same room. Anyway, they're in Jordan's room, but speaking to Jonathan, at least Clark is. And obviously this plays off the Lois thing from the trailer, confronting him. And I didn't know we were going to get Clark stuff confronting Jonathan this episode just because you thought of the cell stuff until this promo image came out. So I do wonder whether Clark might have a hint at what the repercussions might be. But you can see that Jonathan is super emotional about it. But I don't know, the fact that there's such heavy focus on this makes you think there's going to be a somewhat interesting payout. But of course, you don't really get too much from it, so it will be an interesting thing to find out whether it's in this episode. Maybe there's a cliffhanger at the end in regards to it, but that's a whole wait and find out. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this episode and everything and what you're looking forward to and all that. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.